Hello everybody and welcome back to the United Stand. We are outside Old Trafford to react to Ruben Amorim being sacked by Manchester United as head coach, not manager. Remember that one. And we also have some of your hot takes to bring into it. We're going to bring a lot of our opinion, but we want to get you guys involved as well. So your hot takes are coming into it. But first and foremost, Maud, how are you feeling?
Look, it's another day, I'll be honest. Like, I know a lot of people out there are really happy about it. I know some people are really devastated. I'm kind of just in the middle. I just want United to be good. That's my whole thing. I just want United to be good. I want to have the right people in the right positions. There's definitely going to be a lot of conversations going forward now about the ownership, about certain players, the interim manager, the next permanent manager going forward. So this isn't it. This isn't just like he's gone and United are going to be great again. There's going to be so much more conversations that are going to need to be had. But I think in general, look, it's a snowy day in Manchester. Let's just go. Let's just move forward.
Are you happy? Do you think it was the right decision?
I think it was the right decision. It's not. I keep saying this to people. Like, I have no emotional connection to Amorim. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not super happy. I'm not super sad. There's no emotions. It's not a personal thing with Amorim. I just want the right manager to be in charge. So, I do think it was the right decision. I don't think you can look back at what Amorim's done and say we made the wrong decision. I think that's a crazy thing to say.
I don't think you can say you made a wrong decision when your manager has a 38% win rate. You just can't say that's the wrong decision. Look, I'm a bit like you. I never wish anybody to be sacked and lose a job. It's not nice. It's not a nice thing. However, for the sake of Manchester United, I actually do think it was the right decision. And I think this decision should have been made quite a few games ago because we had such a good run of fixtures to get us into the Champions League spots. I mean, Everton at home, West Ham at home, Bournemouth at home. You know, we've just played Leeds, which actually have come into good form. Wolves twice. Like, I really do think if you would have got the interim in earlier or got another manager in earlier and made that decision earlier, we'd comfortably be in Champions League spots. So no disrespect to Amorim at all. I just think I just think the job was simply too big for him, and I personally think it is the right decision. But look, the first hot take I want to bring in to kind of talk about when we talk about this Amorim chat is this will set us back another 5 years, no doubt. And this is from Egan O'Boyle.
It will set us back another 5 years. Look, we don't know what's going to happen. We might have 2 more managers in the space of 5 years. Looking at the rate of United side managers, to fair, that could happen. But look, I think looking at what Ruben Amorim's done so far this season, I don't believe that another manager 100% would have done worse. Like, I feel like at the start of the season, if another manager was in charge, I don't think anyone can confidently tell me that they would have done worse than the point they're at right now. So the reason why I'm saying that is, if another manager was to come in at the end of this season, I don't think it would have been any worse or any better than if Ruben Amorim was a manager at the start of next season. I think if we go and get in, like Glasner or Iraola, I think there's probably just as good of a chance that they will go and do well than if Amorim was going to do well. So I don't think it set us back any 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, whatever it is. I think any new manager that can come in could possibly do even better than what Ruben Amorim could have done.
I think it set us back 40 months. The 40 months he's been in charge because, look, we got told to suffer and suffer and suffer because there was going to be light at the end of the tunnel, and there is no light at the end of the tunnel, really, apart from the fact we have the opportunity to finally, after 2 big mistakes when it comes to the manager from the board, like the Ten Hag debacle, keeping him on and then sacking him was a big mistake. Not putting enough research into Ruben Amorim and hiring him was a big mistake, considering that wasn't the direction that they planned to go down because they weren't willing to fully support him. I think that was too rushed of a decision, and I don't think they fully thought it through. I mean, the fact Dan Ashworth left off the back of it kind of shows there wasn't a unanimous decision on that. So the next guy has to be the right guy. But I think a lot of people think it's going to set us back just because they don't want the merry-go-round of the managers again. They don't want to sack another manager. They quite like the Ruben Amorim in the way he spoke, and I get that. But I was literally just saying before we started filming this video, look, if you get married to someone because you think it's going to be amazing, and then a year down the line, it's really not going well at all, no matter how hard you try, do you stay in that marriage and hope it's going to get better, even though you've seen, you know, there's kind of no way back? Or do you make a change? Do you make that decision? And it's a little bit more complicated that when it comes to football. But from the point we'd reached, I don't think there was any way back for Amorim. And the most important thing is, I think the players were starting to not believe in him because he'd lost so many games. You lose respect when you can't win football games, and your tactics can't win football games. And I think the players would have been feeling that. Yeah,
100%. And I think even in terms of the players as well, like how many players were, I guess, like how many players were comfortable with Amorim anyway? Look at the amount of disputes he's had with Kobe. He had disputes with some of the young players, you know, calling Hariyama struggling, etc. He had disputes with, I'm sure Xerxes wasn't the best fan of Amorim. Obviously, all the players that went out on loan, they probably weren't happy with him either. That there's probably a bunch of players who probably thinking my career's probably taken about a year's I've probably taken a years back because of how Amorim's played and the results that we've got as a team. Let's be honest, some of these players, look at what I don't know, the Leeds and all these guys who have won it in previous clubs. They're probably thinking, look, I've won before. I've done some great things in my career. I've probably spent the last year or just over a year with this club, and they've just sacked the manager. So it's like, I think a lot of the players probably thinking, let's go and get somebody else in who probably knows what they're doing. I made a video before and I said
you need to demand respect.
Yeah, I made a video before and I said there's no one at the club right now that can say I know what I'm doing. There's no one. Obviously, Ruben Amorim's gone now, but none of the owners can say confidently, I know what I'm doing. And even the players, yes, there are some obviously people who are experienced, but in the Premier League at Manchester United, there's nobody there that can say confidently, I know how to win the Premier League. And I think that's a big problem. We need somebody at the club that can confidently say, look, I understand how to do this. I understand where to go, what the next steps are, and I can actually be some kind of experience in this club. But right now, we don't have anyone who's experienced at the club.
Right, Moz, the next topic we're going to talk about is the board, the ownership, and I'm going to start off with Brendan's hot take, and that is Qatar is the only way United would rediscover stability at this point. So Qatar is the only way that Manchester United will rediscover stability at this point. And I've heard a lot of people saying this, we need a full ownership change to actually get back to the top, to be a successful football club. I mean, what are your thoughts on INEOS so far, how they've handled the managerial changes, and yeah, do you agree with them?
It's been terrible. Let's be honest, it's been terrible. They made the first biggest mistake they made was keeping Ten Hag, let's be honest. They shouldn't have kept Ten Hag for that long, even though he won the FA Cup. But let's be honest, we saw how bad Ten Hag was in the league. He might have won the FA Cup, but he was not a great manager in the league. So that was the first mistake. Then he went and forced Amorim out of his job. They said to him, look, we don't care who you are. You either come now or you don't come at all. They forced him out of his job, brought him in. End of the day, Amorim was their guy. They had conversations with Amorim before Ten Hag was even sacked. So this was the guy who they always wanted. They brought him in. They allowed him to finish 15th. They allowed him to lose the FA Cup final.
Europa League final.
Europa
League. Yeah. Even worse, because it was the Spurs and I just Postecoglou. I mean, I'll never live that down.
Yeah, honestly, they allowed him to go through all of these painful losses, and they kept him going into this season. So that's another mistake that they made. They didn't bring in a new manager at the end of that season, so they could have had a new manager who went and spent obviously the same amount of money, but went and brought in some other players for his system. But they allowed that to happen, and then obviously now going into this season, they've given Ruben Amorim half the season and have sacked him. So it's like they've made constant bad decision after bad decision. I spoke to Ben Jacobs, and he said, look, altogether it's probably cost the club about 30 million, just under 30 million for this whole saga on the Ruben Amorim. So it's like the owners clearly don't know what they're doing. Now I can't confidently say that the Qataris know what they're doing. We don't know because we don't know them like that. But I just think from what we've seen from other clubs, you look at City, you look at PSG, you look at even like Newcastle, there are obviously some owners out there that are in, obviously from Saudi and that region, that have a lot of money to spend. They're willing to heavily invest into the clubs that they take over. And I think that could be the right thing. Now, like I said, I don't know 100%, but I think a full ownership could be the next thing that could take us back to, I guess, where we want to be.
Exactly. It's that deep financial wealth and that hunger to win quickly. Under INEOS, we keep being told we want to walk to the right decision, not run to the wrong one. I think they've run to the wrong one a few times, by the way. Yeah. But it just feels like everything is 3 years' time, 5 years' time, this slow process. We got told we'd be competing for the league in Project 2028 or something like that. And I just don't think that's going to happen. I think we've been sold quite a few dreams and then we've not actually done the right things or put the right things in place to get there. I have big question marks. Look, INEOS took over the footballing side of things at Manchester United just a little over 2 years ago now, and within that time we finished 8th in the Premier League, we finished 15th in the Premier League, and look, we're sacking our second manager. I know Ten Hag was appointed under the old regime, but still, and there's multiple different things that have really made me raise my eyebrows. I mean, how much was Omar Barada actually involved with the football inside at City? I'd have to do more research on that, but there's been a few rumours that he was mainly on the financial side. Yeah. Is he the right guy to control the footballing side of things? I've heard nothing but good things about him at Carrington, but at the same time, you've got to look under that hierarchy, right? Dan Ashworth is coming in, and it's a massive saga to bring him in. He then goes because he didn't agree with the appointment of Ruben Amorim. Apparently Jason Wilcox at the time had a few concerns about his tactical flexibility at the time. Then Jason Wilcox backs him because he's in place, he wants to do a good job for him. I actually think Ruben Amorim lasted way longer than he should have, purely because he was their guy and they wanted to make it work so much. Like quite a bit of me was lost on Ruben Amorim when he lost that Europa League final. It was really hard for me to come back from. There's arguments on whether he should have been sat then. I think it was only right to give him the season after he was thrown into the deep end. I completely understand that decision, and I would have backed it at the time to give him that season. I think it was important. But then their guy, who they kept saying, we trust him, is a process. They weren't willing to back the positions he needed, like the wing backs, the midfield. I know you can only do so much at one time, but they made sure they got players in who would work under different systems. And I think that's a clever thing to do, but I don't think they were 100% sold on him. I think they were just hoping things were going to turn around because it was their appointment, their guy. So to me, that's 3 poor decisions, which makes them look like they're not 100% sure on what they're doing. And the only way I can look at INEOS now, and Omar Barada, Jason Wilcox, and I'm sure they're very much trying to do a good job, but the only way I can look at them now and say, you're the right guys for Man United, is if the next manager they bring in, or head coach, whatever it is, they bring in is the right person, he's successful, he's well researched, and that's why I don't mind waiting until the summer, because I want them to make sure it is the right appointment. I don't want to sack another manager anytime soon. I want it to be the right guy who knows his football, who knows to get us playing at Old Trafford, and everyone's got to be in alignment.
It has to work. Like they have one more chance. I'm sorry.
If it doesn't work, then people are going to be seriously annoyed.
They have literally, and I understand. Yes, we didn't give the Glazers any chances. Let's be honest. we didn't want them anyway.
Kind of forced
we were forcing us in it, but. Like INEOS have come in and they've made their own decision to come and take over the sporting side. This wasn't forced onto them. They said, look, we want to come to United. They didn't buy the whole club because they couldn't afford to buy the whole club. They said, we want to come in and buy the sporting side, and we want to take control of that. So for them, if they go and make another poor decision, bringing in another manager, spending loads of money and giving him all these players, and then eventually they go and sack him after another 2 years, that's another terrible decision from INEOS, and there's no real explanation as to why I guess INEOS have done any good job after that.
Right, the next topic, the final topic, is who should be interim manager. We know it's been announced as Darren Fletcher, but according to Ben Jacobs, they might bring in somebody else after Darren Fletcher before they appoint the right guy in the summer. They might bring someone in mid-season, we don't know. So I want to get into the manager chat. But before that, I'll give you some hot takes to bring in so we can kind of bounce off that a little bit. So Josh C has said the next manager will play a back 4 and the owners will prioritise wingers over a midfielder. And then we've also got Jack McKilligram saying Ollie at the wheel again, he needs a redemption arc. A lot of people wanting Ollie to come back as an interim. Thoughts on Ollie as an interim, and then we'll get into the managers.
No. Let's just move on from that. I don't think
my heart says yes, but my head says no. Like, he had his time. There were some really good times. But look, I actually think Ollie was the best manager we've had since Sir Alex. And I think McKenna was a big part of that. I wouldn't get Ollie back without McKenna, because McKenna was sort of the brains behind it in the training ground with Carrick. They ran the training ground sessions, and then Ollie kind of managed. I think Ollie should be our sporting director. Look, Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, Erling Haaland. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Jack Grealish. I think he should be our sporting director. Genuinely, bring him in for that. Get that. People will disagree with me there, but I think he's got such an eye for talent. But not coming in as a manager without them guys behind him. And plus, they had their time. They just weren't able to ever fully compete with the top boys. They got close, but I just don't think they could do it. So for me, as much as I love Ollie, I just wouldn't want him to come in and everyone say, make him manager again, because I don't think that'd work.
Yeah, and I think there's too much that happened behind closed doors with Ollie and the club as well. He obviously came out later on and spoke about it on, I think, Gary Neville's thing. So I don't think that'll work. Just in general, just media-wise, there's too much that happened. So Ollie not for me.
I love him though. I love him. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to list some managers off and tell me yes or no if you would take them.
Okay, go on.
And this isn't Maud saying yes, absolutely. I don't think anyone fully knows right now, but it kind of gives you an inside look of how we're feeling. And I'll answer as well.
Yeah.
So, Glasner,
wouldn't mind it. I would not mind it. Can I just say, first of all, before I even get into this, a lot of people are saying we've tried every type of manager, and I just think that's a weak excuse, because there's no such thing as trying every type of manager, because every manager is different. You know what I mean?
What manager has gone on to be successful after United?
You know what I mean? That's like saying, Mourinho is the same as Zidane because they're both a big name manager. They're two completely different types of managers. That's like saying Glasner is the same as Moyes because they're both managing the Premier League. Every manager is a different manager. Just because we tried a Premier League proven, just because we tried a manager, we could go and take Sporting's next manager. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean he's going to fail just because Amorim managed Sporting. Every manager is a different kind of manager. So I don't think it's fair to look at previous managers and say our next manager is going to fail because they have something in common.
Yeah, for me, I would like Oliver Glasner, but I don't want him to play a 3 at the back. I want to see a 4 at the back at Old Trafford. So I know Oliver Glasner has been more tactically adaptable, and he's spoken in the past. He's spoken in the past about how he plays his formation based on his squad, he's not strict on it. He's played a 4 at the back before, he's done that. So I think if they had conversations with him and said, look, we need you to be tactically flexible. We want to see United play attacking football at Manchester United. I would definitely be open to it. I think he's got a strong personality. You know, he's won something in the Premier League before. He's Premier League experience, and the Premier League, as we've seen from Amorim, is just a different kettle of fish to any other league. Like Gyökeres was tearing it up at Sporting, and he's just not managed to do it in the Premier League. Sometimes it's really hard to make that adaptation, and I think Amorim didn't realise how hard the league was going to be. So Glasner knows the league. I'm not 100% nailed on because I am just a little bit worried about the style of football. But I'd be open to Glasner. I'd be open to it.
I'd be open to it. I'm not 100% against it. 'Cause like I said, we don't know what any manager's going to be like until they come to United. Every other manager that we brought in, we thought was going to work, and he didn't. So I'm not 100% nailed on, but I don't mind it. I wouldn't be crazy. I wouldn't be annoyed at it, basically.
Right, my next one, quick fire, is Areola.
Areola, I think for me it's the same. It's the same as Glasner. There's not really
Same
much.
for me.
Yeah, not much difference. Yeah.
Plays very, very attacking, entertaining football. Could he get that out of the United squad?
It's a different kettle of
Could
fish.
he get them to play the way that Bournemouth do? I think it would be tough. I think he's a very, very good coach, but has he got the personality to make it United? It's a huge job.
A different job. Man.
So let's see on that one.
Yeah.
Next one is De Zerbi.
De Zerbi, I don't know. You know, I'm a bit lower on De Zerbi than the rest of them, in my opinion.
For me, I think De Zerbi would be either be the biggest hit or the biggest flop, and I'm not willing to take that risk. Because it could either absolutely tank, and he's definitely a manager who could come out against the board.
Yeah.
He's very vocal. He's got a big personality, or he could be sensational because he's got that personality. He's a very good coach. I mean, Brighton players absolutely loved him and thought he was fantastic. I mean, he outdid Pep a few times.
Yeah,
the development of players is great. So it's a big hit or miss for me, and it'd be a big risk, but he's on the list. Maresca.
No, I'm not. I don't see how we can. Maresca got fired 5 days ago. We're gonna bring him in 5 days later. Come on, like, I just think as United, if another top team sacks a manager and you're gonna bring him in that same season, I think that's crazy to do. So nah.
McKenna.
Kieran McKenna. It's tough, you know, because I know obviously he did very, very well with what he had, and he was definitely managing a much smaller team, but it's a big jump. It's a very, very big jump to Manchester United. He obviously does know the club very, very well, but I would put the other guys that we mentioned before above him.
Again, Kieran McKenna for me, I think he could either be absolutely fantastic or just be out of his depth.
Yeah.
So it's really, really
it's a
tough
huge
to call.
jump.
And this is why we're not in charge of doing it.
Yeah,
and
I'm not.
This is why INEOS show us that the mistakes are behind you. You've learnt now. It's still really annoying and frustrating, and hire the right guy because the fans are at confusion of who to get in. You've got to show you've got the pedigree to go and employ the right manager. And then my last one that I was going to ask you about is Carrick.
Carrick as a permanent manager? Nah. I don't think he's done enough. I think he's still got a lot of time to actually learn and understand what it takes to be a manager at a club. I think obviously he has done what he's done. I think it was at Middlesbrough. And yeah, he obviously done it right there, but I don't think it's just too big of a jump, in my opinion, for a manager like Carrick. Maybe as like a caretaker to the end of the season, but for permanent manager, nah, I'm not hearing it.
I swear it's a 100% record as interim, but anyway.
He does, but you know, it's different now.
Anyway, I'm just looking forward to seeing Kobbie Mainoo play football, looking forward to see Bruno Fernandes in a more advanced role. Hopefully we see them things, and look, let's see who we get in. But
yeah, we could be here tomorrow with a new manager coming to United, yeah.
Who knows? But look, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Get your hot takes in the comments. Let us know who you want to be the next manager, how you're feeling about Amorim being sacked, and we will see you on the next one.